Now before we start, yes, Henry Cavill is in all of The Witcher Season Part 2. No, Liam Hemsworth doesn't appear, but the producers assure us he's quote unquote awesome. Apparently, Henry will have a flawless exit, and though that remains to be seen, I have to say I enjoyed Part 2 much more than Part 1. I was very, very disappointed in that, and I went into this thinking it was going to be something that would kill off the show. Thankfully, I think Part 2 vastly improves on the first half of the season, and in my opinion, there's way more to like here. Now this does kind of make it bittersweet, as we know Henry Cavill's exited the show for the world of Warhammer. As he's said many times, this is his major passion, and after losing Superman, I'm glad he's getting something that he's really excited to do. Now was Henry's exit flawless? Well, we'll get into it, and I think this season does suffer a bit for having more endings in Return of the King. We're going to be going through them all, but obviously heavy spoilers ahead, and if you enjoy the video, then please hit the thumbs up button. We will be covering more Witcher stuff at the channel too, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see our Season 4 breakdown. It's a long time away, I know that, but yeah, huge thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into The Witcher Season 3. Now a big problem is that the producers and showrunners wanted to add an artificial cliffhanger after episode 5. Having been inspired by Stranger Things' stunning one in Season 4, this is obviously something that Netflix have mandated. That worked really well in my opinion, as not only did it see the long-awaited events of the Hawkins massacre, but we also got the reveal of Vecna's backstory. Part 2 picked up right where we left off, and we watched as the terror continued. However, with this, it just felt like they added it in last minute, with the cliffhanger being something to just drag out the season. Netflix have been trying to get people to come back, and they've almost done a sort of hybrid weekly release thing whilst also doing a binge model. So I think that this was added just for the sake of it, because there's no way that anyone thought Dijkstra could actually kill Geralt. Here the continuation just feels like a natural next episode, but I have to say I really enjoyed the 6th entry. Now where we leave the world of The Witcher at the end of the season sort of feels like a soft reset for the show. There's lots of members of the cast that end up dying, and most of the plot lines get wrapped up as well. During Season 3, much was made of Geralt's neutrality and wanting to be above all of the conflicts. He intended to keep his child of surprise Ciri as safe as possible, but with her being who she is, everyone wants her dead, or at least impregnated. Looking at her resume, she's got a lot going on, and here's just some of the things that she actually is. She's the Emperor's daughter, the child of elder blood, and also the rightful ruler of Sintra. We saw in Season 3 how many sides petitioned Geralt to have her, but in the end his neutrality stopped this. He refused to play politics, and as we've seen through the show, politics can be a dirty game. His refusal to take a side has put her in a lot of danger, and in the end this has left her at an even greater risk. That's something that thematically ties into the end of the season, but where did we leave off, and who wants Ciri? Well, even though she's his daughter, the Emperor wanted her just like in the books, and he wanted to marry her and have a child with her. He's fully wrapped up in the prophecy, and he believes that her descendant will be the most powerful being. Vilgefortz has allied with him in secret for this entire time, as he also wants Ciri believing she'll help increase his magic. Now whilst this is going on, he's been using kidnapped mages to make a fake Ciri, who we later see at the end of the season. The Wild Hunt also wants Ciri so that they can use her powers to bring more troops across the multiverse, and this will give them a vast legion to take over and enslave everyone. Francesca wants her due to the prophecy, and this states at the end of everything that she'll find a safe home for the elves. Problem is, she has united with Ciri's father. Vizimir wanted her to ensure Redania was the most powerful in the north, and by handing her over to Nilfgaard, they will receive Redania. Just one problem, the king is an idiot. Thus, Dijkstra and Philippa engineered Vizimir to hate Nilfgaard and make sure the Emperor doesn't get his secret daughter. They have attempted to get Ciri too, and as we learn have started a plot to purge Nilfgaard's allied sorcerers. In the source material, this is known as the Thanedd coup, and this happens during the book Time of Contempt. The events play out here a little differently though, as in the book Ciri's used as a lie detector medium, but here she runs off and even comes into contact with Cahir. More on her in a bit, as she has some full Homer Simpson-esque fever dreams, like that moment in the show when he ate that really big chili. And Dijkstra thinks that he's got one up on almost everyone, but as usual, he takes a fat L. It comes to light that Vilgefortz is working with Rhines in Nilfgaard, which adds some more issues into the mix. The mages are tied up in Demeterium, and Francesca and her squirrels, having shacked up with the Emperor by the way of Cahir, are here to take Ciri and also Aretuza. Fringilla also arrives as she's attempting to get back into favour with the Emperor after being imprisoned for lying about killing Francesca's child. Now this episode, it was a pretty decent one, mainly for the action and sheer savagery we got on display. For me, it's been the highlight of the season, as it felt for once they were actually allowed to have fun making this series. Francesca gets extremely traumatized as her husband's literally exploded in front of her face, despite her crew having arrows which can go through force fields. Ryan, civilian seasons in the making, meets a swift end as he instantly loses his head, and seeing the mages and elves fight is a completely brutal affair. It's capped off by Tissaia realizing that the Brotherhood's essentially over, and Yennefer sees her powers being up to extreme levels. This allows her to wipe out the forces by using a spell which will kill everyone in her gaze, irregardless of allegiance. She uses something known as Alzur's Thunder, whose namesake Alzur was immensely powerful. His backstory involved creating the Witches, and the spell's also a card in the in-game card game, which is known as Gwent. Unleashing her unlimited power, it turns her hair witcher white, but hey, at least her face didn't get messed up like how it did with Palpatine. She's distraught after being played by Vilgefortz, and she ends her life, marking an end to the Brotherhood. Some things to also keep in mind is our boy Istred, who went off to get the books about all of the monoliths. Now we get a sense of where things are going to go at the end of the season as the successors set up. We get the first meeting of the Lodge of the Sorcerers, but this time, no geezers allowed. These are going to set out and try and help Ciri, and they play major roles in the game Witches 2 and 3, which act as unofficial sequels to the books. Now this sort of ends the big battle on that side. Meanwhile, Geralt and Vilgefortz have a showdown just like the books. Now, I don't know about you, but I never found Vilgefortz all that menacing or an interesting villain in the show, and while their showdown was expected, it felt anticlimactic. He was defeated by Cahir earlier, so this kind of nullified the defeat of Geralt. Cavill's dedication in the choreography though, it really shows this season, and I actually feel seeing him getting knocked on his butt would have made a far better cliffhanger. 90% of the last episode of part 1, I feel could have cut down, and topping it off with this battle would have been a much better way to close things out. Now the last 2 episodes deal with the mop-up and really just centre on Ciri and where the major players go next. With Geralt defeated, Vilgefortz pursues Ciri, leading to an unstable portal being exploded in the books, which appears similar here. This was the Lara portal built by the elves, but due to it being unstable, it explodes, destroying the tower. The tower coming down leaves Vilgefortz disfigured, and Ciri's sent to the Korat Desert, which is where she's helped by a unicorn. The unicorns will play majorly into the future of the multiverse, and it is important that they at least introduce one here. Here she comes across a vision of her mother and grandmother, asking her mother why she left on a boat without her. This is a majorly important part of her backstory, as Ciri's still unaware that her father is alive. Now in the books, Vilgefortz approached Emir after Ciri's birth, offering a way to use Ciri to help reclaim Nilfgaard. He lost his birthright to a usurper who killed his father, and from this point they then took the throne. Now this involved faking his, Pavetta and Ciri's death on a boat, but Pavetta found out, and this ended with him inadvertently killing Ciri's mother. His identity of Dunny was dead, and he then went on to take Nilfgaard back. Now I would imagine we will learn this fully in the show, including all of that backstory in the next season. In the books, Ciri has a vision of herself ravaging the continent, which is a possibility of many of the prophecies surrounding her. Now here we meet Falca, who has been mentioned in the past as Stregobor used her story to justify his racism towards the elves. Falca was a child of the Redanian king Redang, who was supposedly very elven looking, but she lost her heritage after her father remarried. Later she would lead a rebellion and kill her father, but would also go on to be burned at the stake. Now she would state that the descendants of her executors would suffer at the hands of the child of her bloodline. This is the other prophecy, while Ithlin's prophecy said only elves will survive the end of the world by an offspring of the Elder Blood. This is a descendant of Laura Doran, which in the end is what Ciri is. It's muddy, as Ciri is thought by some to actually be Falca's daughter, as her troops imprison a woman named Rhiannon, a descendant of Laura Doran, and both Falca and Rhiannon's kids were mixed up, and no one knew who birthed who. Yeah, we got pretty deep there, made it sound very complicated, but the show itself is actually quite simple. Falca is just saying to Ciri that she needs to break the wheel and burn it all down, which, a bit like Daenerys, hair's the same as well. Now she ends up using incredibly dangerous flame magic to help heal her unicorn, and in the end asks to go by the name Falca. We leave her with a group known as the Rat, which is something that happened in the book. Now, these are a group that steal from the rich, and Netflix is actually making a Rat spin-off. Not too sure that's wise after Blood Origin, because that was one of the worst fantasy shows of all time. Now, it hasn't officially been announced, but the website Redanian Intelligence, who've been very accurate with leaks, reported that it has been pushed forward in production. In the books, Ciri joined the Rats before being pursued by Vilgefortz once more, and her meeting with Avalanche, who you will know from the books, games, or Blood Origin if you made it through the ladder. I managed it, but at the time over Christmas, I had a lot of booze and cheese to kind of dull my senses. Now, the Rats aren't exactly liked, and I feel like adding a lot of millennial writing to a group disliked by fans will be a recipe for disaster. While all this is going on, we get a rather dull story of Geralt healing with the Dryads, who themselves are harbouring refugees. Most of this latter half of the season follows the events of Time of Contempt, and part of the next one known as Baptism of Fire. We meet Melva at this point, and if you recognise the actor, that's because this is Meng-Er Zhang, who appeared in Shang-Chi. Another feature partner is Kahir, who we actually saw helping Ciri, and weirdly in the books, he was in love with her and wanted to help her fulfill her destiny. This is because he wants his life to be taken by her, which does sort of riff on the books, as in that they fought, but she ended up sparing him. Now, this kind of all comes together thematically, and as we mentioned before, Geralt must shed his neutrality and shackles of the past. It's clear what he did to Renfri has sat with him for a while, as he kept seeing her in Season 1. He's healed by Yennefer to set off and find Ciri, who she calls her daughter in her own way, and actually comes across Vilgefortz's experiments on the fake one. Now, he in his discussions with Melva decides to just stop playing around and finally go out all on the attack. It's him in the dandelion with Melva as he does what he wouldn't before and kills Nilfgaard soldiers and threatens to take Ciri from the Emperor. His change is underscored by Yennefer's voiceover, which says how they will all be the last to fall. She and the Lodge will be working to take out Vilgefortz, and I did like how we saw the Cratch and Crate once more, who was played by a different actor. Either way, he has a big role in The Witcher 3, and I feel like they've brought someone bigger in because there's going to be more to do. She wants to make the world safe for Ciri, and I expect next season to finally see off Vilgefortz for good and move towards the endgame. That will likely deal with the Wild Hunt and the elves trapped after the conjunction of the spheres. Now, I find it very weird that, complete with the experiment and seeing the Ciri lookalike, he didn't think, hold on, Ciri's on her way to the Emperor, but Vilgefortz is aligned to the Emperor, maybe he has the fake one. Now, the Emperor has given this fake Ciri her titles, while in the books he knew instantly she was fake, and in reality an orphan child of nobility. Presumably in the show, he knows she's fake too, and is just using this to give him time to go and find the real one. This is no doubt what Vilgefortz is thinking too, however, the evil mage also wants her for his own gain. Either way, he heads off, and that marks the end of Cavill in The Witcher, and time will tell how we get our face change. Now, the show does do a good job of setting up a brand new status quo, and one that's so far heading into a more book-accurate way. The Lodge has been set up, and Geralt with Melva and Dandelion, who are off to find Ciri. Radovid is finally king of Redania, and this comes in the wake of him wanting to run off. Now, this happens because Philippa comes in a clutch for Dijkstra and kills Vizimir, just like how she used the same assassin for his wife. I do wonder if they will start to blend some of the game stories into this, as with Cavill gone and the quality plummeting, it's questionable how long this show will run for to even get to the games. They have filmed seasons 4 and 5 back to back, so we at least know we're getting that, but I kind of feel like after that Netflix is just going to pull the plug. Either way, Francesca's deal has paid off, and in the end she gets a land for her people. Albeit she must turn the squirrels over the Emperor, it's also finally revealed to her how it was actually the Emperor who killed the baby. This will no doubt cause a major rift between the new Queen of the Free Elves and also the Emperor, which will probably be something we explore in the future. Now, overall, I feel it was a slightly dull season, and with the source material this good, I feel that it should be rivaling Game of Thrones and also House of the Dragon. However, the quality has fallen majorly short, and I feel that it lingers on things for far too long, at certain points. We almost had a whole episode of Ciri just wandering the desert, whereas episode 6, that's more of what I think this should be. Now, once again, I feel Henry Cavill's failed largely by people who think they know better. I wish him all the best for Warhammer, as shows like this in Invincible, and to an extent The Boys, prove being lore accurate is the key to success. Anyway, I'm off to paint my Space Marines in anticipation, and I hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the show. Please drop a like on the video, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button. You'll get early access to videos every week, and it goes such a long way to helping us out. We also have our merch store over at shopzeroedition.com, which sells lots of nerdy inspired t-shirts, hats and more. You just launched a Secret Invasion / Pulp Fiction inspired t-shirt, so if you want to head over there and help us out, then the link's in the description. Now if you want something else to watch, we've got a breakdown of the ending of Secret Invasion, which will be linked on screen right now. Hopefully I'll see you over there right after this, and with that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.